the entire family of Christmas, and on Salah and other Islamic.
Please, be specific.
Yes, I'm a Christian.
Answer.
Yes.
Definitely, you are a Christian.
Yes.
The person that is asking you a question is also a Christian.
Okay.
Definitely, you believe in the holy book known as Bible.
Yes, definitely.
Who wrote the Bible?
I mean, it was inspired by maybe by God Almighty, and men and women who were maybe directed to write it.
Why does this neuroscience, when it's a neuroscientist,
Yeah.
are they superior to God?
I know.
If you say Bible is inspired through God's inspiration,
Yes.
then how come they did not wrote creative punishment, they wrote spare the rod, spoil the child in Bible?
Very good. And I said I don't believe that we should do away with what? With corporal punishment, isn't it? Let me establish this. Hello, teachers.
Yes, sir.
Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes. This thing is extremely important. In fact, I have a friend who is the CEO of EduGist. There's a governor in one of the northern states that has told him to do something on creative or on corporal punishment. Then I think we contacted each other. I told him that I don't believe that corporal punishment is still useful, and that we should be in the 21st century. There's a need for innovation. There's a need for us to do what? To replace corporal punishment with creative punishment. And do not forget, creative punishment does not say that we should not use the cane. No. What I do is that my wife is a complete disciplinarian. She beats for every offense a bunny. But I've decided not to also beat those children, because as an educational neuroscientist, I know that if I add to what the corporal punishment that my wife is applying, that it might end up affecting the children. For example, I can decide if they commit any offense. This month there is no subscription. That I'm not going to subscribe for you if you repeat this mistake that you've done. After they hear that, I already want to subscribe for us, you see that they will grow, they will adjust. My wife beats, I use creative punishment. And then now let's come back to the class, to the educational aspect. Please, let me even start from the UK. Okay, the United Kingdom is a combination of 3 or 4 countries: Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and England. Do you know that presently they decided to come up with legislation? There are legislation to make sure that to protect the brains of their learners. Presently, I want you to think for the guys in this class. Do you know that if you take your mind back to like maybe 10 years ago, the learner ball used to be very, very strong. That even to head it, you need to actually close your eyes. If you want to do the yakini, okay, slow motion, you see that he closes his eyes in order to, because of when you head it, when you knock the ball, okay, you're going to actually feel some amount of pain. But today, the learner ball has been adjusted just because of insights from what? From cognitive neuroscience. I'm going to come to that. They discovered that the more these kids head the ball, okay, it does what? It either kills what? It causes apoptosis or atrophy of the neurons that it is in the prefrontal cortex. I'm going to come to that prefrontal cortex because it is almost everything. Intelligence is stored in the prefrontal cortex. Good decision, the ability to actually think critically is in the prefrontal cortex. The ability to say no, I'm not going to go out tomorrow is in the what? In the prefrontal cortex. So we'll come to that. It is one of those areas that we are going to. But do not forget, the more you head the ball, especially if the ball is very strong, it might be putting insult to those neurons in your prefrontal cortex. And if you keep doing it, it might only lead to apoptosis. On my Facebook page, do you know that I keep saying that there are some sports that we need to actually stop as humans. In America, their own sport is called American soccer. That you see, they put on something and they hold the ball and we hitting each other on the head. But do you know that there are so many cases now, okay, in the court? They discovered that after those footballers, after they retired, okay, from the American soccer, that most of them end up having, okay, neuropsychological issues. How many of us remember how Rashidi Yekini died? Just remember that. Do you know that he got to a stage that great Rashidi Yekini died a very poor man. They observed that he would just go to the ATM, collect money, and be spraying the money all through. So the extent that he exhausted all his money, that he took some friends, because I think he has one came in, he gave birth to a village or something like that. So friends had to come together to assist somebody who was one of the greatest footballers in this country. It was later when I discovered what is happening in America. That because those footballers normally hit themselves, okay, on the head, it has affected their prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is that organ of the brain also, apart from intelligence, is the seat of wisdom. The ability to say, no, I'm not going to go out and drink. It is your prefrontal cortex. The ability to say, no, I'm not going to be cheat in the exam. It is the prefrontal cortex. So it does affect. Now, do you know that now? I want you to actually take these two, and I say Yekini and American footballers. Let us not bring it into the classroom. When you keep giving the child a knock on the head. There was a school, New Glorious, that I went to, and I saw this guy, young, the guy should be in KG2. The woman was using plank. She was beating David, and that David was shouting. I was in the other class. I had to watch him. It was when I got there, the auntie stopped. What is it, man? Don't mind him. He cannot write too. See, David cannot write too. Is that why you want to kill another man's child? So what I did was I didn't want to insult or disrupt. So I waited. Didn't wait time. I asked somebody to go and call me David. So when David came, I applied some principles of neuroscience. He was so confident. Get me a pencil and a paper. David, I want you to write 2. Because the auntie was beating him. Write 2. Bossa. She was using plank. She was using this boy on the head. And David could not write 2. And I know, I can tell you the reason why he could not write 2. Fear. As soon as the child is scared, those populations of neurons that are connected to learning, they switch off. They don't like stress. That's why I say things like stress in America is it's one of those topics because of brain science. So I told David, okay, right? I told him to write 2. David wrote 1 clearly, 1 to 10. And this was a child, a people who could not write 2 in the presence of his teacher. The teacher is not a person, he's just an ordinary teacher. He's just an ordinary educator. Imagine if that teacher has ideas of educational neuroscience. He would have been a perfect and a teacher that cannot be replaced or displaced. Now, what is creative punishment? It is the combination of dopamine and discipline. Corporal punishment is the combination of what? Dopamine and discipline. What was the discipline? Dopamine is, I've told you about the fact that there's something called neurotransmitters. Okay, in our brain, there are some neurons, okay, whose responsibility is to do what? To release neurotransmitters, okay, in our nervous system. Some people love going out to drink, to hang out with friends. It is not their fault. For women who are here, if your husband loves Chelsea or Man U, it is not your husband's fault. The reason is this: if your husband goes out to watch this sport, if they are together, there is a neurotransmitter called oxytocin. Okay, it is a kind of a neurotransmitter of bonding. Oh, we are together. We are Man U fans. Okay, and if Man U scores or if Chelsea scores, you understand? dopamine. Dopamine will be released in your husband's nervous system. He will be so happy. It's almost the same thing when your husband ejaculates. Huge amount of dopamine. So there's nobody who is less than 18 years here, right? But we are more than 18 years.
This long. And this is bad.
I like that.
No.
Okay. So that is it. It's because of if I decide to take both of them to Mr. Biggs, I'm going to tell them that look, if you listen to my class, you listen to me, and you're able to answer my questions after this class, I'm going to take you to Mr. Biggs. Immediately, okay, the dopamine neurons will start releasing dopamine. Because dopamine is not only a kind of a neurotransmitter of expectation, but it is released whenever we do something that we enjoy. Because now you will be thinking, I'm going to see Mr. Biggs. Okay, I'm going to see Mr. Biggs. But both of them want to actually pay attention. And deep inside of them, okay, the neurons will release little dopamine in expectation of the real food that we're going to eat at Mr. Biggs. If you tell a child, if you listen to me today, I want to teach you a very, very complex topic. In mathematics, what is the most difficult topic in math? I'll just give you one of them.
Bearing and distance.
Okay, bearing and distance. Please, this topic is extremely tricky. But I know that if you can listen to me, if you can pay attention, you will understand this. But this is it. I'm going to evaluate you. I'm going to do what? I will evaluate you whoever. For those who score 90 and above, I'm going to give them a reward. That is what you do for me. This is what? Discipline. Decide, okay, yes, discipline. So this one is what? Chemical, okay, for reward. So this one is a punishment. If for those who score 90%, okay, during the evaluation, I'm going to give each and every student, okay, a gift. But please, I want everybody to listen to me. As soon as you say that, the brain starts responding. You've said it. Look, there's a connection between, I call it BAB, okay, brain activity and behavior. Anything that you say, as soon as you hear it, the brain is also responding. That is why one of the things that I'm going to share with parents in our neuroparenting talk, no matter how that child is small, you keep saying good things. Like our mommy, for example, she might not know that there's something called, okay, motherings, or yes, motherings. Okay, speaking to, thank God that she has a baby. During the dyslexia, okay, class, I'm going to use her as an example so that she can start putting it into practice, so that the child will grow to have what is called, okay, that language advantage. And you know, the language, okay, the language circuits is reading and other subjects that are connected to language is tied to the foundation of the language network. And how do we make sure that a child, before that child actually starts school, how do we create that formidable language system and network? Mothers have good roles to play by speaking to that child. At times, you say that the child will be blabbing some words. Whatever the child actually blab, it is important that the mother stresses that. Okay, she to exaggerate that. She makes different kinds of noise, and she's doing that. The brain, okay, that circuit, that language system, the neurons, they will start talking to each other. And before that child starts school, that system will have been formidable. So now that is dopamine. So one, the children is going to give us a gift. Then two, they want to pay attention. Apart from the fact that dopamine will be released because they are expecting reward, they will be happy. There is another chemical. It's called the acetylcholine. This is another neurotransmitter that makes us pay attention. And please, I've told us that the number one principle Because attention is like energy. And you know that the world itself is about energy. The world itself is about energy. So the acetylcholine will do what? Will release. It will be released in the system, and the student will want to pay attention. Now, for those who did not score up to 90%, despite the fact that you promised them that you're going to reward them, how do you punish those students? Yes? At least I want you to say that you can take 3 strokes or do it on their buttocks. That is one. So you must be mindful of where you apply the cane. That is what neuroscience is, or educational neuroscience experts are saying. Be mindful of where you apply the cane. Don't just be angry and just start beating that child on the head. Because you are not only punishing that child, you are destroying the child's neurons, those concept and academic neurons that child actually makes in order to understand whatever you're teaching him. And during exam and test, those neurons will start firing, the child will be able to recall those things. Because those neurons were active when you were teaching. The discipline. This is for all those who did not do well. You are not going out for break today. I've mapped it. I discovered that I observed that there were little areas that or little areas of weaknesses. I'm going to deny you of your break and tricks that aspect that I discovered that you are very weak at. That is one. 2, you have to come very early, or maybe during closing hours. I want all those who did not do well, stay back. While others are going home, you're going to miss it. So these are creative ways of punishing. And those punishments, I call it constructive punishment. It is constructive punishment. Unlike, how many of us know the origin of corporal punishment? Because my father was a soldier, I lived in the barracks, I understand how barracks life. Corporal punishment is a punishment that is meant for barracks, for soldiers, for military men and women. That is what corporal, that is the genesis of the origin of corporal punishment. And now we decided to import it into the classroom. The classroom that actually needs the brain, that needs attention. And that's why you see most ineffective teachers subscribe, most ineffective teachers, most of them, they subscribe to corporal punishment. They believe that I'm not saying that you should not be, but know when to apply and where to apply the cane. But what I'm proposing is a creative punishment. Honestly, it's going to really transform your pedagogy.
Thank you so much. On this issue of creative and corporal punishment, left to me, I understand the basis of the 2 aspects. But in everything we are doing, the major things that matter most is the outcome or the results of our aims and objectives of setting up things. All these knowledge aspects we are treating in this class are being created publicly by the white people. But let me say by the so-called Europeans. But like what you said, for every publicity of knowledge of these European people, they have their hidden agenda to captivate the mind of the world because of their greediness. Do you know in Europe there is a particular library that no black is allowed? Do you know purposely in America they created a very close jail because of the black people? Do you know in some streets in America you cannot jog early in the morning because you are black? But this so-called corporal punishment you're talking about, me, I love arguments to gain something because I see it as a game. This European master came down to the black continent to enslave us. Why did they apply this corporal punishment to our forefathers on the ship to their land if it is limited to barrack? Why did they padlock them to achieve their aim to build their economy? Why did they still come in here indirectly to exploit our natural resources through the 5% of our population?
Now, not only natural resources, human resources.
Human resources too.
Because are not going there.
So, what I'm now going to use to round this up is that there is a particular professor from Kenya. He is one of the associates to World Health Organization. So, he got a loan, almost $80 billion, to improve the farming activities in Kenya. And for good 3 years of spending this money, they discover a loss instead of profits. The body, the committee of this loan from the World Bank now came down to supervise what exactly that goes wrong in that field, or whether the money is not even executed to the normal things that they collected it for. When they got to this place, they discovered everything. They were trying to pull an ocean from its source down to the farm settlement through laying of pipes. Doing that, as time goes on, at the middle when the rain started falling, there is a serious erosion that eroded the whole farm surface that leads to those things, to the loss of the farm produce. But fortunately, during their supervision, they discovered that there is a particular small portion of feed aside these thousands of hectares of land that they cultivated, that the maize on that field were germinating properly. They now called the owner of the farm. That, how did you come about this? The man now narrated that this is how we've been doing our cultivation here in Kenya. We knew we are in a arid environment. For any maize tree, you need to dig a pothole close to its roots. We don't experience rain abundantly throughout the whole year, but once there is a rainfall, it fills that particular hole, which is going to sustain the roots of that particular either cassava trees or maize tree until it fully germinated to the mature stage. So that is how they have been doing this. So the head of the committee from the World Health Organization said, wow, this is fantastic. We should have adopted this and buy a mechanized equipment instead of using crude implements to dig this hole and stress yourself. You should have gotten maybe like excavator to just dig this thing. You should have applied this thing, but use what? Foreign implement that will fast track it, so that we'll be able to produce a large hectares of farm and get a lot of profit from what we need. So what I'm saying is that it's even more better to combine our traditional ways of culture with the foreign culture, not that we totally adopt the foreign culture and throw the traditional culture or ways away.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In our neuroparenting kind of seminar, one of the pillars, okay, of that seminar has to do with the fact that neuroparenting is the combination of traditional parenting and what is called new age parenting. I cannot be fooled to really encourage that we do away with everything that is what? That is African. I do not forget, I think I said it, that there's a need for us to start rethinking not only Americanism or Western Europeanism, that there are so many things that those people brought to Africa, that we Africans, we need to really sit down and do what we tinker. We must not take everything hook, line, and sinker. The one other thing that neuroparenting has to do with, there's something called parrot parenting. Okay, parrot parenting has to do with the fact that anything you see the whites do, it's just what it is. I said it is wrong, and that is really affecting what marriages is really destroying our youth etc. So sir, I cannot be advocating that everything black is bad. I won't do that. But what I'm actually trying to say is that creative punishment is what? Is the combination of the two. And that's why I said it clearly that at home, my wife she's using the corporal punishment, and I don't discourage her. But I started thinking that if I also go the corporal punishment too, that it might really affect the children. So do not spare the rod, or do not do away with the rod, but combine the rod with other punitive. Yes, honestly, that is just the foundation of creative punishment. Like the way we say that maybe Egbali Ogun. You know, my wife is also a teacher. I was asking her, I said, Kevin, how much you buy to make come Egbali. She did not even hesitate. She said Egbali. I said, why Egbali? That what she has observed is that some of them, until you give them that game, that their attentional kind of radar, will not be released. As soon as they talk funny, papa. And she cited like 2 or 3 students, pupils in her class. This is a woman who is in the field, and she's sharing insight with me, and the insight is so effective because I know testimonials from parents that my wife is a competent teacher. So should I tell her that when neuroscience said
But not in essence.
That is what.
Do you know there are some baby or kids or puppies when they brought them to school, from their first day in school, you can give them biscuits, sweets, yogurt, but that will not stop them. You are encouraging them. Take this, I'll give you this, and that. They will not until you not even beat. You act as if you don't really care. You understand? You know, there is a lot in teaching. Sometimes you act as if you don't really care. You just ignore. Let him or her cry for several times. You not even give him biscuits. You not give him anything. You now cry, tired, and sleep. Wake up. If you do that for consecutive 2 or 3 days, do you know? Sometimes it results in positive things.
Yeah. In fact, my younger brother is a psychologist. He's now in the UK, and about to do his master's. He said in psychology it's called attachment theory. It's called attachment. There are some children, they are so attached to their parents that any separation, they see it as a threat. So just like he said, there are some children like that. And funny enough, do that. It's just that we blast, we are not that science driven. We should have studied some children. How come that a child, the mother will bring him or her to the school for the first day, the child will blend. But there are some children that as soon as you bring them, just like you said, they will cry all through. Is there a way that what can we learn from those children who were brought and adapted and adapted to that environment? What can we learn, and how can we help those children who have that attachment kind of issues, so that they too can really fit in and blend into the learning system? We need to keep observing. Yes, any other question before it?
So, you mentioned one of part of my question, but I want you to share more like that. Does stress has to do with brain? Stress, can it affect brain positively or negatively? And what can we do?
Yes.
such thing happens, what can we do to that situation and to the case?
Yes, stress. Not only stress, we are going to, in this course, that teaching with emotional intelligence will give you detailed information about stress, okay, and its role in education. But do you know that there is another type of stress? There are two. This one is stress. Let's say this one we call it negative. But do you know that there's something called eustress? There's another one called eustress. But eustress is a positive aspect. Okay, too much of stress leads to what? The release of cortisol. There's something called cortisol. This cortisol is what? It's a stress hormone. It's a stress hormone. For example, they give us that there's a topic in mathematics that is extremely difficult. But do you know that you can use the knowledge of neuroscience, the knowledge of the brain, and apply not only stress, but apply eustress in the teaching of that difficult topic. For example, you can tell them that today, I'm not going to teach you today that you do you are going to solve like 100 questions. That is a stress, isn't it? But it is not a negative stress, it is what? It is a positive stress. That is an example of what's called stress. Now let us now talk about the negative stress and its impact on learning. The negative stress has to do